Lucy Letby, serial killer. Why did she kill? Part 14. Hello. We are now continuing an examination of the circumstances of the murders and attempted murder of the babies in relation to Lucy Letby, as it provides us with particularly useful insight as to what was going on concerning her behaviour and what that might mean. Letby was found guilty of the attempted murder on April the 9th, 2016, in relation to baby L. Note that at the point of baby L, these crimes had started the previous June. Of course, the police are looking to see if there are other crimes committed by Letby, but we're only going to proceed on the basis of the instances of her conviction. But at this juncture, we are now 10 months in. It's worth briefly pointing out again, with the suggestion that there is a temporary, albeit possibly sustained, diminution in emotional empathy having occurred. Again, I see this as improbable as a consequence of 1. The time period now extending to 10 months, 2. The frequency at which these incidents were occurring. They were not one-off, but were repeated, and 3. The evidence that we have that Letby behaved in a normal fashion. And this tends to support, rather than there being a removal or reduction or diminution in emotional empathy, that there simply wasn't any to begin with. In April 2016, Letby was told that she was being moved to cover more day shifts. Aaron Powell, the unit management, told her that this was not a punishment, but simply a way to give Letby more support in staffing numbers. This was untrue, however. The real reason was concern among consultants about her presence during the deaths and collapses of the previous months, most of which had taken place during night shifts. Almost immediately after her shift pattern was changed, collapses began occurring during the day. On April the 9th, baby L, a boy, and his twin brother baby M suffered collapses. The alleged murder attempts bore a striking resemblance to those against the twin babies E and F. In both cases, where one twin was allegedly poisoned with insulin, the other was injected with air. Baby L was poisoned with an unauthorized dose of insulin, a fact that the defense did not contest, but said there was nothing that proved Letby was responsible. Johnson told the court Letby had failed to kill baby F, so doubled the dose of insulin administered to baby L. He said, "The idea that two people on this neonatal unit were separately spiking fluid bags is so improbable that it can be discounted. Baby F survived, so the poisoner, Lucy Letby, upped the dose for baby L. What clearer evidence than an intention to kill could you have?" On the basis that that evidence was accepted, that Letby had responded, therefore, to an earlier failure to kill for the purposes of increasing the dosage. Does this again support the notion that she is operating with a calculated mind, or is it simply the case that in an instant there is recollection of the earlier failure and therefore an increased dosage of insulin is provided? In relation to baby M, Letby was convicted of the attempted murder of this baby, the attempt being made on April the 9th, 2016. Around the same time that his twin brother's blood sugar levels were beginning to drop, baby M suffered an unexplained collapse. It was the prosecution's case that shortly after poisoning baby L with insulin, Letby injected his twin with air or obstructed his airways. Both babies recovered, but baby M suffered brain damage. A medical expert for the prosecution said the likely cause was an injection of air, but the defence said there was no obvious cause, and Letby was being blamed because there was no obvious alternative. It's worthwhile also pointing out that with regard to the modus operandi in the attempted murders and the successful murders of these babies, Lucy Letby was using covert means. It was not a case that she was found bludgeoning the child to death by smashing it against a wall, found smothering the child with her hand or with a pillow, but instead The activities were overfeeding, injecting air, injecting insulin. Actions that would be initially difficult to detect and wouldn't immediately cause someone to think that Lucy Letby had harmed the children. Is this indicative of a particularly cold level of callous behaviour, supporting significant planning, or is it simply an instance of acting in the moment, but doing so in a way, utilising obvious skills and knowledge that she has, in a way to avoid detection and thus nullify potential threats to control by being caught? Is this commensurate with the behaviour of a narcissist of the ilk of Lucy Letby, of maintaining a facade to everybody else that she was caring and competent, rather than being a hot-headed lunatic that would lash out? I've made mention, of course, about the diminution of emotional empathy. There are instances where children have been killed as a consequence of an individual losing their temper. In one regretful incident for them, they might have struck the child or have shaken the child, resulting in brain hemorrhaging. There is no violent fit of temper, no apparent ignition of fury. Might that instead suggest that either Lucy Letby is operating with cold fury, or that fury didn't play a part in this, and she was very much detached, cold, and clinical in the way of a psychopath? With regard to baby M, she was found guilty of an attempted murder, as mentioned. And then, with regard to baby N, she was found guilty of attempted murder on June the 3rd, 2016, or in relation to the action on that date. No verdict was reached with regard to a charge of attempted murder on 2 occasions on June the 15th, 2016. Baby N, a boy, was born with haemophilia, a blood disorder which, according to the prosecution, gave Letby cover to attack him. Again, is this indicative of a cold, calculating mind, or is it simply an instance of asserting control in the moment and using what was available, in effect, in the way that a narcissist would use the vulnerability of a victim in that moment against that victim, rather than necessarily thinking about what could be selected? Baby N suffered a collapse at a day old, which medical experts said was consistent with some kind of inflicted injury, or him having received an injection of air. Letby was convicted of the murder of baby O on June 23, 2016. Babies O and P were among 3 triplet brothers. Letby was accused of attacking baby O on her first shift back after a long weekend in Ibiza with another nursing colleague who cannot be named for legal reasons. Again, I make the point about how there was the compartmentalization of her behaviour, that she was able to go away and enjoy herself in Ibiza. This was not somebody who was suffering a breakdown. This was not somebody who was overcome with stress and fatigue, who therefore was suffering reduced emotional empathy, but rather someone who was going off and enjoying herself and then coming back and murdering. A post-mortem examination found unclotted blood in this baby's body from a liver injury, which led a coroner to conclude his death was due to natural causes. However, an independent pathologist who reviewed the case said the boy had suffered an impact injury akin to a road traffic collision, while medical experts for the prosecution said he died due to a combination of that injury and air being injected into his bloodstream. In brutal terms, an assault, Johnson said. The prosecutor put it to Letby that she had attacked baby O to get the attention of the married doctor on the unit, who it was claimed Letby was in love with. She denied this. Here, there appears to be a shift in the modus operandi of Letby. Hitherto, it's been utilising covert means. But here, there appears to be what might be a flash of heated, ignited fury, where she assaults a baby, resulting in that baby's death. If that is accurate, and she performed an assault as a consequence of heated fury, what caused that? Was it the case that the presence of the doctor was so important to her, and the necessity of maintaining control over him was such that she would risk taking action which was more obvious, more likely to lead to a conclusion of unlawful activity rather than it being a mistake? Might it be that the fixation that she evidently had for this doctor meant that he was more important with regard to the assertion of control, and that she feared or was unable to have control over him, and therefore turned to harming this child in a more brutal fashion in order to prompt a response from the doctor as a almost last-ditch attempt to bring him under control? In relation to baby P, she was found guilty of this baby's murder in relation to the commission of the offence on June 24th, 2016. Less than 15 minutes after the death of his brother, baby P was attacked with an air injection via his nasogastric tube, the prosecution claimed. You will have noted that there have been repeated instances of Letby attacking children who were twins or triplets. Now, it is the case that twins and triplets, generally speaking, are more likely to be born prematurely, hence you're going to have more of them on a neonatal ward. But what can we read into the manner of the targeting that was being undertaken by Letby? Was it the case that this again was cold and callous behaviour, so that she would cause the family to grieve the loss of one child, so that they would be there still tending for the second child, so she could drink in their grief? Was this a sadistic delight in their misfortune alongside the drawing of fuel? Perhaps there was a twisted reconciliation in her mind that it was acceptable to take away one child because there was another one left, or to take away two children out of triplets because there was one left, and therefore it was okay for the parents because they still had a child left, so what's the fuss? Such a mindset would be wholly demonstrative of an individual without emotional empathy. As mentioned, less than 15 minutes after the death of his brother, baby P was attacked with an air injection. As baby P was collapsing, Letby is alleged to have told a consultant, "He's not leaving here alive, is he?" The prosecution said this was her happily predicting something she knew was going to happen. Is this her simply provoking by making such a comment, or is this the aware revelling of a sadistic individual, knowing that the child is going to die and wanting to almost gloat that she has done it? After baby P died, the next day his parents begged medics who had arrived to take baby P to a different hospital to take their surviving triplet. The consultant, who cannot be named, agreed. She told the trial that by then she felt Letby posed a mortal danger to the surviving triplet and asked the consultant to take him instead. Following the deaths of baby O and P, Dr. Breary called Karen Rees, the duty executive senior nurse, to report his concerns, explaining that he didn't want Nurse Letby to come back to work the following day, or until all this was investigated properly. Rees did not argue. Finally, in relation to baby Q, with the charge of attempted murder on 25th of June 2016, no verdict was reached. That concludes a detailed run-through of the activities of Lucy Letby with regard to the murder and attempted murder of various children, and the circumstances surrounding that provides us with much to consider in relation to what she is. In the next part, we're going to be dealing with what we can glean from the judge's sentencing remarks, and also the fact that she failed to attend sentencing.